Hello everyone, welcome to October. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, if you haven't noticed my pink hair. Today we're going to be talking to Dr. Mo, breast cancer survivor, about prevention and tips for resilience. I am Tani Nolenberger, and this is Talk with Tani. While we talk about everything and all things weddings on the show, today we're going to actually be talking about a hot topic that I am a huge advocate for, and that is breast cancer awareness. So I'd love to welcome a very special guest of mine who happens to be my best friend, my loving mom, Dr. Mo. And together, we're going to save the tatas.
We're going to save them. Hi there, everybody. Hi, Tani.
We might laugh the whole time.
No. Let's do that again. Hi, Tani.
Hi, Dr. Mo.
Hi.
AKA my mom.
Mom.
All right, Mom. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to being cancer-free for 17 years, you guys.
Yes, 17 years. Health has always been very important to me. I've always been very active. When I was younger, I was an athlete. For my first career, I was a high school health teacher as well as a high school science teacher. I went on to become a university professor, and I taught public health in the university, well, both in a community college as well as at a university. So I was on my morning jog like I always do. I used to run every morning. I came home, took a shower, and I felt a lump larger than the size of a pea on my breast, and I actually ignored it for a couple of months. And then I thought, wow, this isn't going away. So I went to my doctor, and because I was only 37 years old, they said, oh yeah, don't worry about it. And I thought to myself, well, I am a little worried about it, and they refused to give me a mammogram because I wasn't 40.
Wow.
So the recommendation for women is to start getting a mammogram at age 40. I had to advocate for my own self and say, no, you know, this has gone on long enough. I insist that I have a mammogram. It was weird because I had to, convince the doctor to give me a mammogram. So they did, and it was suspicious. The next step was I had a biopsy, and I was positive for carcinoma. And when I got that call, my doctor actually called me on the phone. Surprisingly, she didn't call me into the office. She called me on the phone, and she says, you're positive for breast cancer. And it was like a slow motion movie. I was so shocked. I felt the blood rush to my head. I just froze. Yeah, so I'm here to tell you that early detection is extremely important. Yeah. And there are some recommendations. Tani, you actually took a health class, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to go over some tips with our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important for us to point out of the fact that breast cancer doesn't just affect women, it affects men too. So these are just, some of the many tips and things that we're going to be talking about today that could help towards breast cancer prevention in both men and women. I did get these. I'm going to read them because I don't want to mess up these facts. I did get them off the American Cancer Society and Susan G. Komen. I have the links below too. So if you are looking for some prominent resources about breast cancer, if you know someone or have a friend or a family member or just curious, knowledge is power. I highly encourage you guys to please click on the links below and educate yourself. In the U.S., we're talking about the U.S., 1 in 8 women in their lifetime will get breast cancer. 1 in 8 women in the U.S. That is a high number, extremely high. 276,480 new cases of invasive breast cancer in women will be discovered. That number is so astronomically high, you guys. Prevention is so key when we're talking about these numbers. I'm not going to leave out the men here too. Where 1 in 8 women get breast cancer, 1 in 833 men. So as you know, breast cancer in women is extremely high, higher than men, but we don't, we want you guys to have the statistics, and about 2,620 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be discovered in men in the U.S.
Those are startling statistics.
They are.
And so it's so important that you pay attention to your bodies.
Breast cancer, you guys, is the number to cancer found in women. Lung cancer is number 1, but breast cancer is number 2. So it's very important to pay attention to your body if it changes at all. Make sure you're screening yourself.
Be sure to conduct monthly breast exams on yourself. Best place to do it is when you're in the shower.
Yeah. I want to talk about some risk factors. When we talk about risk factors of increasing your likelihood of getting breast cancer, there are several different risk factors involved. Obviously, there are some risk factors you cannot change. You guys, the 2 biggest risk factors you cannot change is number 1, being a woman, and number 2, getting older. Well, gosh, gee, I am a woman and I am getting older and I really can't stop those. So when you put that in play, you guys, it's so important, as we're, stressing prevention is key, and making sure that you are taking the necessary steps for your livelihood and health. So risk factors can be related to genetics, such as family history, inheriting certain genes, those things you can't control. For instance, there is the BRCA gene test, which I believe that you got and you were negative for.
I was negative, but the BRCA gene test back then, 17 years ago, only tested for a little over 3,000 genes, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that there are more genes that they didn't test for. So I think that things are more modern right now. Technology and science has advanced since 17 years ago. Yeah. So I'd like to take it again. However, I'd actually, you'd be better off taking it than me. And if you were tested, and then that's how we'll know. I've already had breast cancer, so I don't need to get another test.
But that is a high risk for me if we're speaking about genetics, because my mother had breast cancer. So that is something that I need to do now and start. Other things like lifestyle, when we talk about obesity, your diet, drinking alcohol, those are other risk factors that play into getting breast cancer. And like you said, you were healthy. She is a fit woman. I could contest for that. And so it's crazy to think that it really can happen to everybody, but it's just to be prepared and aware. Other things such as reproduction, and that goes with how many children that you have, whether you're breastfeeding or not, the age you have children, all those play a factor into breast cancer as well. And then of course the environment, such as radiation exposure, stressful environments, that's a huge thing.
Bad relationships.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
So those are all kind of risk factors that we can't control when we talk about risk factors and how they play a role in breast cancer.
Those are the big risk factors. However, I want to point out that it can happen to anybody. I didn't have the majority of risk factors. I was not high risk for getting breast cancer. I wasn't older. I actually had something called the BRCA gene test to see if it was genetics, to see if I got it because of my genetics, and that was negative. I truly believe, I'll never know, I believe I got breast cancer because of environmental factors and because of stress. I've gone through so many life events, major life events at a young age, a lot of death in my family, close circle. My best friends passed away when I was young. Raising children, although you were wonderful children, it's stressful to be a parent very young. And going through school, I had my PhD very young, and it was very stressful going to school. It was a lot of work. It took me 7 years to get my PhD, but I did it. But it was a lot of work, a lot of stress.
I'm proud of you, Mom.
I know. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So we're going to talk about some prevention tips. As Dr. Mo suggested, make sure you check yourself in the shower is always really a great time to do that. Exercise, get genetic testing done if you have a history in your family. Start early screening with mammograms. Something I learned as a new mom who is breastfeeding, I actually cannot get a mammogram right now until I am done breastfeeding, and I have different hormones in my body right now. So that was something that I didn't know about, that I talked to my doctor recently, wanted to share with you if anyone else is in the same situation. But as soon as I'm kind of transitioning out of that, I definitely plan to get a mammogram, absolutely. And of course, another completely different subject is those that are at extremely higher risks. You could talk about getting preventative surgery.
Surgery is actually an extreme option, and it's something that's a personal choice. There are women that choose to have their breast removed if they know that they have a history of breast cancer in their family, and obviously that's a personal choice.
Thank you. I think those were all great topics just to talk about as far as risk factors. And of course, now we're going to talk about the resilience.
The resilience. Save the tatas.
Saving the tatas.
So being resilient is very important to coming out of any sort of health issue. Everybody knows that I believe in mastering your mind, and what that means is you are in control of your emotions, right? We are all, if there's something you can control, it's your emotions. And I think that everything is energy. That's the science, the science part of me. Everything in life is energy. So, those vibes, when they say have good vibes. For example, if you are around negative people, you need to work something out, because negative people are bad vibes for you. And get rid of all the drama in your life. Just do it. Decrease your stress. I really love meditating. It's so good. Society these days, we're so stressed out. Right now, in this year, has been crazy, right? We just need to have some world peace.
Mom, come back to the show.
Sorry, I was just dreaming about the things I love. They decrease my stress.
Well, those were some really, really wonderful tips on resilience.
Thanks.
So, thank you, Mom, for coming on
You're
the show
welcome.
today. If you guys learned something new today or just enjoyed our show, please do us a favor, share with a friend, press that like button. Our business is based on referrals, and we would love to connect with someone new. As always, stay creative and be legendary, and
Save the tatas!